Max Verstappen's march to the 2022 Formula One World title continued with a victory on home soil at Zandvoort. But did Mercedes throw away their best chance of a win so far this season? From Zandvoort, welcome to Paddock Packdown. So it was another impressive display from Max Verstappen here today at Zandvoort. Another win, his 10th of the season. He's now 109 points clear at the top of the standings. But it was not such a straightforward win for him as it was at Spa, even when he came from 14th on the grid there. We saw Ferrari, they had a little bit of a sniff early on until they slipped back, but it was Mercedes who really emerged as their closest challenger for victory. The late safety car threw a curveball, and many were left surprised when Mercedes opted not to pit Lewis Hamilton for a set of fresh soft tyres, leaving him powerless to keep Max back and stop him from winning the home race. It's a decision that has sparked a lot of confusion up and down the paddock, and to talk about Mercedes' strategy calls, I'm joined by Jonathan Noble, F1 editor for motorsport.com. Now, John, I think, many people weren't sure why Lewis didn't come in when Max did. It seemed like such an obvious call to make. You've spoken to Toto Wolff, you've sort of seen what's been going on. What is the reason for not bringing Lewis in that final safety car?
They basically went for the win. This has been a season with no victory so far for Mercedes. This has been their most competitive showing so far. In the strategy meetings this morning, it was laid out that if there was a sniff of opportunity, they were going to go for it. Toto Wolff was absolutely clear tonight. He said, for every single day of my life, I will happily risk going for a win than accept a safe second place. And that's effectively what happened. They needed to cover what Max Verstappen was doing. If Lewis had pitted for the softs with Max would have been in the lead. The Mercedes is slow in a straight line. It's very, very draggy. And we saw with Carlos Sainz early on the race, Lewis is quicker, couldn't get past. They do not have the straight line speed. So you pit Lewis for softs, he runs second, doesn't pass Max, finishes second. You keep him out on the mediums. Sure, it was the wrong choice because those tyres eventually fell away, but there was a sniff, there was a chance, and that was the opportunity, and they went for it. And they split the strategies between the two drivers because they just felt one of them was right, better not to have both of them lose out. But this was about going for a win. And for Mercedes, it's not a bad problem to have after the season they've had so far.
Quite a rare problem for them to have as well after the past 8 years or so. You said about not wanting both of them to be on the same strategy. Now, that was something that Christian Horner was actually quite surprised by because he thought Mercedes would stick with Hamilton and Russell, keep both of them out. And he thought that Mercedes would use Russell as a rear gunner to protect Hamilton. He was worried about a 2 versus 1 situation, Hamilton and Russell versus Verstappen, who would then be third on the fresh softs. Realistically, do you think Max would have just zipped past both of them? Because it sounds like from what Toto said that he reckons that might have been the case.
Yeah, I think that was the Mercedes belief. I think they felt that at that moment of time they need to split the strategies. Because in these situations when you split a strategy, it's because there isn't at that point a clear defined best option to go for. So one of them is going to be wrong.
Yeah.
So if you keep on the same strategy, then the chances that both could be wrong. So I think if they kept George on the mediums, he may have acted a buffer, would have delayed Max taking the lead. But again, the Red Bull straight line speed is immense. I think Max was virtually past Lewis across the start-finish line. So, it would have been the first lap, get past George, second lap, get past Lewis, and then both Mercedes falling back into the pack, and everyone would have gone, why on earth didn't you split the strategy?
It's kind of one of those things where you can't really win. I think Toto also spoke about the anger that he faced from Lewis Hamilton and the team faced from Lewis Hamilton over the radio as well. In the heat at the moment, it's very easy to say things. We saw that with Alonso at Spa last week, and Lewis has since apologised for his comments as well. What did Toto have to say about that and sort of the flack that teams have to face on the radio?
Yeah, he gave quite a good comment today. I mean, obviously drivers in that situation, they can't see the full picture of the race. I think Lewis explained this. The season they've had has been terrible at times, tough at times, and they've come in today, there's been a sniff. They've had that chance, that opportunity of going for a win, and suddenly Lewis has found himself almost a repeat of Abu Dhabi, where he's done the job up to that point. He's on a strategy that's not worked, and he's fallen back behind his teammate who's been quicker than all weekend. So he obviously felt angry. I think it got too much for him at that point in time. But he apologised. Toto spoke to him after the race, and Toto says it's part of the team's job in that dynamic. There's a discussion that goes on between the driver and the pit wall, and he said we've got to accept that teams are vomit bags for drivers. So it's part and parcel, and we see every driver gets angry. Fernando Alonso got angry at Lewis last weekend, and it's all becomes a laugh the following week. So I don't think it's anything inherently wrong. There's no tension between Lewis and Toto or Lewis and the pit wall. They took their decision, it didn't work, lessons learned, move on.
Now, from vomit bags to virtual safety cars, the VSC was a big talking point after the race because That did appear to work very much in Max's favour when he pitted for hard compound tyre, meant he could pit and come in without actually losing track position to the Mercedes cars. Christian Horner actually said they think that worked against Max because Red Bull would have gone for the soft compound tyre instead of the hards. They wanted to avoid that. But had we not had the virtual safety car, Max would have pitted and come out behind the Mercedes cars. We know how important track position is here. Did the VSC's timing actually cost Mercedes a chance of victory, do you think?
Mercedes think so. Mercedes' plot at the time reckoned that they thought Max would have gone for the hard. Wasn't the right situation to go for the soft at that point, so the hard would have come out maybe enough a gap to leave Lewis comfortable and would have closed up with about 6 laps to go. The data was kind of moving around, and so I felt the charge was there, but with 6 laps to go on tyres that were perhaps going away a little bit, they felt there was a sniff. It was a sniff and a chance to do it. It wouldn't have been guaranteed, but they felt the VSC had wrecked that completely because they'd gone from a scenario where Max is well behind and having to charge to Max getting his pit stop in and staying in front.
Yeah, as you say, a sniff and a chance of victory. It's more than Mercedes have had a lot of races this season. George Russell, after the race, he said had they qualified a little bit better, so I guess had it not been for Perez's spin in Q3 with the yellow flags, then they might have had a real shot at taking the fight to Max. Overall, did Mercedes have the pace to beat Max and Red Bull this weekend? And what does it say about the season moving forward? Has this been a big breakthrough that they needed?
I don't know if it's a breakthrough. I just think it's another step in the season of Mercedes understanding their car. Toto talked a lot this weekend about understanding everything that went wrong at Spa last weekend, because Saturday was terrible for them. Sunday was a better picture. But we know that Mercedes isn't a quick car in qualifying. It lacks straight line speed. The DRS isn't hugely effective, and that costs them lap time, compromises downforce levels, and you kind of get into this spiral situation. Things didn't quite click here this weekend. It left them behind the Red Bull and Ferrari in qualifying. This goes back to this kind of annoying characteristic that Mercedes have talked about this car, that if they get a clean weekend, if they can get the Mercedes at the front, front row alongside the Red Bulls or in front like in Hungary with both cars, then I think it's there. The race pace is there to win a race. But it's not beyond fast of the Red Bull and the Ferrari to be winning races. Clearly, it needs everything to go in its favour. Potentially needs both cars up there, because Hungary, for example, George had that opportunity, but lost that pace over the Stillions. It went away on the day when Lewis was quicker. So I think that all the factors are coming together. That car can win a race this year, but it's going to need all the ducks lined up to go for it.
Stars align moment that Mercedes will, of course, be waiting for. John, thank you very much for joining me. And that has been the Dutch Grand Prix weekend. Another win for Max Verstappen. It's going to take something really big to stop him from winning this World Championship. But before the season is out, there is hope for Mercedes yet. It might just get a race win.